Alright, so it is the 1st of March 2022, and I just wanted to hop on and give an update as to how my habit tracking is going and kind of what worked, what didn't work from last month, and what things I'm thinking about changing for this month to try to make things a little bit better. But yeah, just to review, I'm a PhD student and I also work full time, and I am not organized. I've struggled with getting organized pretty much my whole life. Like, obviously, if I'm in a PhD program, I've done well enough to get by, but I started struggling with kind of organization and staying on track whenever I started my master's program, and it's just kind of progressively gotten worse, especially into my PhD, and really just kind of peaked with like stress and anxiety throughout the course of the last couple years, especially at the end of last year. So I'm just trying to figure out ways to kind of get myself on track and stay on track. And this is a little bit kind of off topic, but maybe on topic. Like, I don't know. Over the past month or two, I've come across some like Instagram pages and videos and things talking about ADHD and how kind of like, especially with females, some females may have ADHD, but it doesn't present the same way, most notably without like the hyperactivity component. And so, like, if you would have asked me a year ago if I had ADHD, I would say, well, I mean, I have trouble kind of planning sometimes and focusing and staying on track, but I definitely I'm not hyperactive. I'm not, you think of those stereotypical people with ADHD, as the ones that like can't sit still in class, can't, pay attention in class. And it's like, but I'm watching some of these videos and hearing some of these people talk, and I'm not, like with kind of like, what do they call them? Like neurodivergent things, like autism or, things like that. It's kind of hard to put people in a place and like say whether they have it for sure or not, especially if there's like a spectrum. And I feel like perhaps ADHD may be a spectrum, or maybe me and the girls that I'm seeing on Instagram, like if we have ADHD, maybe it's like should be called something else because maybe it's not exactly the same. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting off track. But basically, I definitely feel like I can relate to a lot of people who are saying that they have these characteristics, whether it's ADHD or not. But like, and I don't know, like I just almost feel like everybody I know has trouble kind of like planning and goal setting and sticking to things. But maybe I just think that because that's how I am. I don't know. But in any case, I definitely have a problem. And kind of looking back at some of the things they were saying, like, one of the characteristics of someone that may have ADHD that doesn't present is like you daydream a lot. So it's like in class, I think if I did have ADHD, I definitely found productive ways to cope with it. For instance, I would definitely daydream in class all the time. If it was a class I was not interested in, a class that I didn't have to stay focused on in class to get a good grade, I would be just like daydreaming the whole time. And I even had like a teacher like point it out, one time, not in a bad way, kind of like an endearing way, but yeah. And then the other classes that I did have to actually pay attention in class, I wasn't actually taking in the information like as it was coming. I was finding tricks. Like I would, instead of focusing actually on what the teacher was saying and having it go in, I would like be focusing on my handwriting as I'm taking notes. I would use different colors to take notes. I would like use different sizes, and I would be focusing on like how my notes were structured, instead of so much as what the teacher was saying. And then it's like whenever like the test would come or the quiz would come, I would cram. I was always like a massive crammer. I would be on the school bus in the morning, just like trying to cram everything in. And I had a pretty good like short-term memory. And I always knew this about myself. I'm like, my short-term memory is good. My long-term memory is garbage, but I can cram everything in the short run, regurgitate it for the test. And I always felt like that wasn't good, but in the way like the school system was set up, it was good enough for me to do really well in that sense. Not so much when you get into higher, like graduate level classes. Like even with the master's, it was still kind of that way. I could still get away with it pretty well, and the stuff wasn't hard enough that I couldn't, pull an all-nighter or two to still make a pretty good grade. I did go study in Europe for a semester, and I struggled quite a bit there. Those are like, I passed, but it was just like scraping by because their system is just different than, the US, and being overseas and everything. It was just, something a little bit different. But just kind of with that being said, I've really been struggling with my PhD because it is more self-paced. It is more, you have to keep yourself on track. I've also been struggling with my job because with this job, I started it as a grad student in my master's program, and there wasn't as much involved with it. Like, I had things that I had to do, but it was enough that like whenever I had scheduled meetings with my boss, I could like, stay up the night before and get everything done enough to, get by and get everything complete for my job. But it's kind of like at one point after I graduated, I got hired on full time, and there was more kind of added to my workload beyond just kind of like my basic tasks that I was doing as a grad student. And then it's just kind of been more and more, and then that's kind of tied into my PhD, my dissertation work. And so it's just, I really, really have to, I can't just, rely on waiting until something is due and then getting everything done, because it's just not possible to do. And my boss is like great, and she definitely like, she knows that I have potential. Like, she knows that I'm smart, and she knows that whenever I do produce the work, it's really good. But I think she's also recognized that I need extra encouragement, which I felt so bad about because she's been really busy and she's been having to like kind of like be on me a little bit more. So we have like 3 meetings a week scheduled. And so because I have these 3 meetings a week scheduled, it's been enough to keep me on track because I have to have something ready for these meetings. But at the same time, like, I was finding it harder and harder to motivate myself to, this was when I got really scared, because I was finding it hard to motivate myself like I used to cram. So, like before, it's like if I had something due the next day, it wasn't done, I could stay up and focus. But I started having trouble like getting that focus, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've put this off to the last minute. And normally I can cram something in the last minute, but my brain's not working to do that. I can't do it. And yeah, it's just been getting harder and harder. So basically, after this long 8-minute rant, what I'm trying to say is I definitely have issues with, self-motivation and keeping myself on track. And so I'm just trying desperately to come up with a way to keep myself on track. And thankfully, I think I found some things that are working. And this is one of those things. I'm going to share it with you. And then, just kind of talk through, what I'm doing. I did actually have things got so crazy last fall that I did reach out to a psychiatrist because I was having a lot of stress and anxiety over things. And, I'd been seeing this stuff about ADHD, and I thought, well, maybe I have ADHD. I don't necessarily want to be on Adderall. And I was nervous to reach out because I didn't want them to think that I just am looking for Adderall. But I'm like, if I do legitimately have ADHD, and if Adderall will help me, or some other, drug, because I know there's other drugs besides Adderall. But, I was hesitant to reach out because I'm like, I'm a PhD student, like, they're gonna see that and be like, you know, no. But I found this place where I live, and they were doing virtual stuff, and the reviews were all really good, and so I tried it out. And this guy, what happened was exactly what I thought might happen. He basically was like, he did like a very quick, just like checking off the boxes evaluation of me, and like I didn't feel like he was really listening to me, but he was basically like, you know, you're a PhD student, you don't have ADHD. And I think basically he was trying to get at, you're somewhat attractive, you're used to kind of getting by in life easy, and now that you're in this PhD program, you know, you're struggling with it. He said some really off the wall things too, beyond that, like beyond just like about me, but I mean, kind of insinuating anyway. But yeah, so he basically, he wasn't against prescribing me Adderall, but it would have been for me to use, like, it wouldn't have been like a daily sort of thing. It would have been like something to take, a stimulant. I don't even know if he was like saying Adderall, but like he was basically like, there's stimulants you can have, and he's like, but for like high functioning people, you know, sometimes they'll give them a stimulant, like if you're an astronaut and you need to be awake in space or something like that, you know, people that have these jobs that require them to stay awake in certain situations. And I'm thinking, I don't want that. I don't want to just have something that's going to keep me stimulated for like, if I have an assignment due or a report due the next day. I want to be able to work consistently. And he said, you know, like I could reach out to him if I wanted to try something else. Like basically he told me kind of like a herbal sort of thing. He said I could try saffron. And, you know, so I did, but it's just kind of like he was like, well, technically it's not, you know, a medical thing, so I can't give you dosages or anything, but you might try it. I've seen some research on it. And he was like, if you try it and you decide you want something else, you can reach back out. But, you know, I wasn't really comfortable reaching back out. Like, it didn't work. And I ended up having, like, a total breakdown, like, a couple of weeks later because I was just so overwhelmed and so overloaded and so behind in my class. And I basically told my boss that I wanted to quit and, like, that I wanted to drop out of school, and that, you know, like, I was like, I'll pay back whatever tuition I need to pay back, you know. And I was up for promotion at work, and I was like, I want to withdraw, you know, my promotion, and just, you know, I'll give it one more semester a try. And she kind of like pulled me back from the ledge, and you know, was like, it's okay, we'll figure out how to deal with this. And so I got, like, she helped me, like, told me how to reach out to my teacher and the class I was struggling with. And that was the one thing, like, I had 2 classes last semester. One class I had a perfect score. Even though it was online, it was kind of like we had weekly things that were due. The other class was, like, they were both asynchronous, but it was kind of like one class we had weekly assignments due. The other class was just kind of like self-paced, and that was the one that I just, you know, completely bombed in. And just because I didn't do the stuff. There were no deadlines. There was nothing, you know, motivating me to get this stuff done on my own. And so, but I was able to get I know this is like really long, but whatever. So I was able to get an extension on the class, and so I have until the 13th of this month, I think. Yeah, I think I have until the 13th of this month, probably the 13th, to finish up everything in that class. So that's another reason I've been like trying to push myself to study in that class. Same thing this semester. I've got that class that I'm trying to finish up, and I've got another class that is asynchronous, but it also, we have weekly assignments and discussion board posts and things like that to do. So I'm doing stellar in that class, but I'm doing okay in the other class. Like I still have quite a bit to get done, but I see a pathway to finishing it. But anyway, so yeah, that's a whole background as to where I'm at in my mind, where I'm at in my life, and where I'm at with this. So, okay, So here we go. So I have another video that I posted at the beginning of February talking about my February tracker. And in that, I kind of talked about my progression. So I started this kind of in December, but I don't have my tracker. So basically what I'm doing is I just kind of like put down some things I wanted to focus on. I kind of tracked them throughout the month, and then, you know, would reassess at the end of the month, you know, what's working, what's not, what do I like, what is not, you know, kind of really working out. And it's just kind of evolving. So this is kind of an update from February. And so in January, I did really well getting up at 5 a.m. I did really well getting my steps in. February, it was not bad. And I have an excuse for why, well, I don't know. I think before I messed up here, I'd had like a step streak going on. So that was my motivation to get up every day, get my steps in every day, because I had like a 140-day step streak. And I'm like, I'm not going to break this step streak. But once I broke it there, it was harder for me to be motivated to get up and keep doing it. And so, yeah, there was like some days here, I don't know. Some of the days, like this one right here, so there's an excuse for this because I was traveling for work. So I'm going to let myself slide on those days. But overall, I think it's good. And I really think that this month, and as terms of like waking up by 5 a.m. and getting my 8,000 steps in, I really think that I can do it. So, you know, I had said I wanted to try to, at some point in the future, do a bodybuilding competition. And I'd had like a training program I was going to try to follow. And then I realized in January, like, that's not going to be my focus this year. But I still wanted to try to like get some extra working out in beyond just my steps. And so in January, I had added like the squats and the wall sit and the plank. No, I'm busy. Sorry, my roommate looked in. But, actually, let me go see what he wants. Okay, so, where was I? Alright, so, we've got squats and a plank that I was doing, and then I also have this little machine that I bought a long time ago that's supposed to be like you do thrusters with it, and I haven't really used it, so I thought, you know what, let me throw that in too. And so I've been pretty consistent aside from the days I was on vacation. And then I don't remember what happened here. I think I just wasn't really feeling well a couple of those days. And, but yeah, I've been pretty consistent with that. So I think I can stick to that every day. I was logging my workouts and trying to log my meals just to stay in my FitnessPal, and because I'll probably need to do that if I do decide to compete in a bodybuilding competition. So, but I don't know, I wasn't feeling it. It felt like whenever I would start logging my workouts after, I didn't really need to because I was doing the same amount every day, and then it kind of like, for some reason, like threw off my groove. And I think me picking up my phone, it was not a good thing because, you know, I'm being productive and everything, and then by picking up my phone, it led me to, you know, maybe checking other things on my phone. So anyway, at some point I stopped logging the workout, and I felt like logging it here is enough for me. Okay, so this was one thing, the studying and the work was something that I really wanted to focus on in February and try to get ahead in. But, so I actually did, some of these days I may have actually studied 6 hours or worked for 2 hours. Probably most of these I worked for at least 2 hours, but I was tracking this in like a tracking app, and I wasn't good at logging it in, and so if I didn't know, I'm like, well, I'm not sure, I'm not going to mark it off. And also, I think 6 hours was just too much. Like, there's no way I'm going to study for 6 hours, and especially not track it consistently. So I think between work and studying, I would get 8 hours a day in, but like, just I don't know. I had trouble tracking that, and I'm going to try to do better this month. This I think is pretty good because like making content for YouTube or whatever isn't like my primary goal, but it's something I still like working on. And so even though I didn't do it like every day, it's not necessarily something I want or need to do every day. But it was kind of nice to just see how many days I spent on it. Like I said, I didn't log food. A nighttime routine is something that I really do feel like would help a lot, and that's what this reflect and plan was supposed to be, and I just didn't. I don't have a night routine, and so it's hard for me to kind of like, since I don't have a routine set, it's hard for me to sit down at night and actually do that. And then this is like journaling in the morning, and I do that most mornings, so that's something I'm good at. So based on what I did last month, I kind of reevaluated, and this is what I have for March so far. My thing is falling. So yeah, so I think, so the before 5 a.m. and the 8,000 steps, thrusters, planks, squats, and journal, I think for sure I will be able to get every day. And then also, I've changed my work and study goals to set them to just 2 hours, because I think setting it to 6 hours was just too much to like I think even though I may get 6 hours, I can definitely get 2 hours, you know, and so I want to try to do that. And I'm going to try to log it and just, you know, try to stay consistent with this. So yeah, my goal is definitely to have at least 2 hours of work and 2 hours of studying, probably more every day, but my goal is going to be that, and just see if I can hit it consistently. Again, the content for 1 hour is not something I'm going to like push for every day, but just kind of keep up with what I'm doing. This one may or may not be happening. It's something that I'm trying to like, I sat down before I got on here and I was trying to think of like, what's a good nighttime routine to do. And me and my roommate, we normally have dinner together, and we normally just like try to find something to watch on Netflix. And it's like, we'll get food and then we'll sit down and we'll be trying to find something online to watch, and like there's just not been anything good, something to watch like consistently. And he has like a pretty big social media following, and he has enough to do like TikTok lives. And so one thing I've been suggesting, I'm like, well, why don't you just hop on TikTok live at night and just like while you have dinner, like do it at the same time every night, and then just see if that gets you more of a following. Like, it wouldn't hurt, and it would be something that's like somewhat entertaining while we eat. So that's just what I threw in there. I don't know if that's going to happen, but you know, I feel like if we set like a time, all right, we're going to eat at this time, we're going to do it on TikTok, it would be beneficial for him, but then also something to kind of keep me on track with like kind of winding. That'll be kind of like my starting to wind down for the night, starting my nighttime routine is like eating dinner. And then this one, maybe I don't want to put it on here, but like, since I've been working at home, I don't shower every day, but it always feels good to shower at night and get into bed like clean. Even though I don't really feel the need to, like I don't get like dirty. But I'm just thinking maybe that's something I can build into a routine at night that will feel good, that will kind of wind me down for bed. So I'm thinking this. And I know in January I'd had this goal of like, I mentioned, you know, I want to be a gardener. I want to try to grow my own food. And so I'd had these plants, like I'd had like these microgreens growing, and I'd tried to do some wheatgrass, and I just couldn't stay consistent with it. But I actually have like some plants now that are easier to take care of, I think. Like I don't have to worry about harvesting or whatever. I just have to keep them alive. So I am going to start with that. I'm going to start with just easy to care for houseplants, and then kind of go from there. So I'm gonna post another video where I got this one from my Lunarly subscription box. Actually, it looks like it needs a little bit of water already. But so there's this one, and then I got this one at Walmart yesterday. I got this little pot, says I will survive, so that's my goal, is to just check them daily and try to keep them alive. So I think that'll be something easy because I don't have to spend time, you know, harvesting them and replanting and all that stuff like I was doing with those other plants. So back on the plants. Okay, so sort of setting a nighttime routine. I got a whole series of these habit nest journals a while back because, I don't know, this is one of the things they say people with ADHD, they have a lot of, like, they buy tons of planners and, like, spend all this time kind of, like, planning, or they'll buy planners and not fill them out, and I'm really bad about that. Planners, notebooks, things like that. And I gotten this set, like, I started with this morning sidekick journal, and you kind of, like, it has kind of like these pages you read at the beginning that talk about setting a morning routine and what's good about it and all this stuff. And then it has these daily, like, pages where you, it has these prompts for you to write. And so, you know, you're supposed to get up at a certain time, fill in the book and everything, and then try to stay on track. But it just wasn't for me. Like, it had some useful things, but I just couldn't stay consistent with it. In this format. But it does have, like, a lot of these, like, each day it has, like, something that you kind of read that gives you tips for things. And so I got to looking at this, and immediately I'm like, no, this is not something I'm gonna stay consistent with. I don't have trouble sleeping, actually. Like, that's not a problem for me. It's just, I don't know, I guess ending the night in a way to where I feel motivated for the next day or ready for the next day, and that's what I really want to do. And so I think, yeah, like, most of this isn't gonna help me because I don't have any trouble sleeping, partially because I use drugs, Tylenol PM or ZQuil or melatonin or a combination of those, and it works for me really well. So I'll take it like an hour before bed, and then I'm, like, passed out pretty well. So, but I think there is some useful things in here. So, sorry, I hear my roommate. So what I have on here is read pro tip. So I think this is what's gonna get me. So I'll eat, I'll shower, then this will get me here at my desk to kind of, like, wind down for the night and start thinking about tomorrow. And I think I'm gonna just read instead of, like, filling out all this stuff, because I don't think that's gonna be useful for me. I'm gonna read the day's thing. So it'll be really quick, it'll be really easy, so it's not something that I won't want to do. And then, yeah, just mark off if I read that. And then since I'll be here already, then hopefully it will prompt me to check my calendar, check my to-do list. So I'm set for tomorrow. Another thing I want to talk about at some point, but I definitely do not have time here, is I've tried keeping a planner, and, like, this is the planner that I've had. I got this in, like, 2017, and I've just tried to get off and on with using it. It's the perfect notebook planner. And, like, at the first of the year, I did another big push to try to, like, get it filled out. And I mean, I could see how it could be, like, useful for some people, because it kind of helps you with, like, goal setting and picking out a few main goals to focus on and keeping track of, like, your progress in each of those goals. And so that's what I did, and I just kind of went through and got little started out going pretty well, and then I just don't keep up with it. I'm not consistent with it. This wasn't useful for me to stay consistent. But perhaps if I am at my desk and I'm checking my calendar, maybe I can start using this a little bit more consistently, because it's got, like, some daily, I guess I don't really like how this is laid out very well here, but I do kind of like these pages that have kind of like your hours, but I don't know, it just fell off and it didn't work. So what I think I do better, instead of setting up like specific times to do things, is having a to-do list for now, and just on one of these notepads, just like a small spiral topped notepad. And so I think I'll just like put a to-do list. Maybe I'll do this at night, do a to-do list at night, and then yeah, just go from there. I think that's what I'm going to start with, is the to-do list. At night, that way I'm at least, you know, mentally prepared. Thankfully, like, I don't check my calendar that often, but I don't really have that much unexpected things on my calendar. So thankfully, I haven't really had many things come up to where I just completely forgot about something, or at least to where I forgot about it to where I missed something. But I think it would be good to keep an eye on my calendar, write out a to-do list, and then I'm putting read down here because I tend to just like fall asleep watching with YouTube videos playing. But I have like a ton of books that I haven't read. So that is one thing that I think I'd like to try to get in the habit of, is reading before bed. So, you know, reading until I fall asleep. So this is my goal for March. After I get off of here, I am going to study. I've got some things, specific things that I do have on my to-do list to get done studying, and then we'll just see how the night routine goes. But yeah, I guess that's all I have for now. Oh, also, I'm getting kind of like, I've been feeling the moon lately. I don't know what it is, and I've been trying to figure out, and that's one of the books that I'm going to read. I have 2 books, so I definitely feel like my moods go in cycles, and my motivation like ebbs and flows in cycles, and I don't understand how the moon would play a role in that, but people say it does. I don't understand like how the moon cycles could, but I have a book about kind of like moon cycles and things like that, and how to kind of like, in any case, whether or not it plays a role in anything, it's kind of fun. Like it makes me feel a little bit more connected to like the universe, to kind of like keep up with the moon cycles or whatever, you know. So that's something I'm kind of getting into, and I put like the moon, we've got a new moon tomorrow, full moon on the 18th. So I don't know, I just threw that on there just for fun. And I've got a book that I'm planning to read about that. I also have one about that talks about your period and how your hormones throughout your menstrual cycle can like affect, you know, your energy levels and things like that. So I feel like that's probably more likely to affect my energy levels than the moon. And I feel like maybe I'm feeling that the moon, maybe because I think the moon cycles is on sync with my period cycles right now. So I don't know. Anyway, that's an aside. So yeah, that's something I'm going to be looking into over the next little bit. One other thing that will probably get thrown off this month is we've got spring break sometime in here. I don't remember when it is exactly, but I've got a Friday off for spring break, so I think it's the 24th. I think I'm going the 24th through the 27th. I'm going on a little trip for spring break, and I don't know. I think I can still keep up with this. As of right now, I'm kind of planning to go by myself. My roommate may or may not come for one or more of those days. Like, if I'm by myself, I think it'll be really nice to just, like, recharge, and especially since it's towards the end of the month, I can kind of get ready for next month. But yeah. But other than that, I don't expect anything to get in the way. I have until the 13th to finish up my school stuff, so I'm going to be pretty focused on that. for that one class. But yeah, that's an update for, you know, kind of a review of February and kind of like where I'm headed for March. And hopefully I can kind of be consistent and get on track. I definitely want to do that before this summer. I'm going to really start focusing more on my dissertation, and I definitely need to get some consistency in working on that. So wish me luck.